We're going to get to Jay Timmons, President and CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers. And Jay was the former chief of staff of the George Allen gubernatorial reign back in the 90s, I believe, right?
94 to 98.
94 to 98, and now the head guy at the National Association of Manufacturers. And Jay is going to Roanoke with Kellyanne Conway today, and then back to the swamp into the White House for the proclamation signing in the Oval Office. And Manufacturing Day today, big day in America, as we are fighting to bring manufacturing jobs back to the country after they have been shipped out overseas. And with NAFTA and everything else, so many of our manufacturing sector just completely wiped out. But now the president revitalizing it, renegotiating NAFTA and trying to bring it back. Jay Timmons, good to have you with us again, Jay.
How you doing, John? Good to talk to you.
Never better, man. Never better. Hey, I'm fired up about National Manufacturing Day. You know, Jay, you've been with me. You've been with me on the air so many times, Jay, going through this. The number of jobs that we have lost because of NAFTA and because of these outsources and the international slave trade network trying to scour the earth for cheap labor. And our manufacturing sector in the United States has been decimated. Finally, Jay, it's coming back. Explain why.
Well, you know, John, I think you got to look at the whole picture. Folks need to look at the whole picture of what manufacturing has really been through over the course of the last several decades. And, you know, quite frankly, the problems have been piled on by administrations, both Republican and Democrat, Congress's Republican and Democrat. And here's what manufacturers are facing. They're facing anywhere from about a 12% to a 25% cost differential to manufacture in this country. And that's before you count in labor costs, right? So that's because of our very uncompetitive tax rate. It's because of the regulatory burden that imposes, believe it or not, 297,696 regulations directly on the manufacturers. That equates to about $35,000 per employee per year in compliance costs alone, as well as a crumbling and failing infrastructure system that drives up costs for manufacturers who want to get their goods to market. When we talk about trade, trade is vitally important for our manufacturers because 95% of customers live outside of the United States. We want to make stuff here in this country to be able to sell it to folks around the world, as well as, of course, our own domestic market. So we've got a lot to we've got a lot of good news on the horizon, especially with tax reform being debated very seriously right now. And that's why we're very pleased that 3,000 manufacturing facilities across this country will open their doors today to about 600,000 students and teachers and community leaders to invite them in and show them what modern manufacturing is all about. And I'm really excited to be down in Roanoke at Optical Cable today to be a part of that celebration, and then, as you said, head up to the White House.
Let me ask you, Jay, how does now, in the new environment that we've got in the Trump administration and some of the regulations that have gone, they're also trying to restrict, obviously, illegal immigration, redo all these work visas, student visas, and everything else. So you've got 600,000 people are coming to potentially work today in a manufacturing environment, right?
Yeah. I'd love to see all of them want to work in manufacturing, but we probably won't be quite that successful. But it is a way to show young people what opportunities exist in manufacturing. You know, my grandfather was a manufacturer. He was at a paper mill in my hometown in Ohio, and he was there for over 40 years. That was what brought our family into the middle class. Now, manufacturing is way different today than it was back then. Mm-hmm. Today, it's all about technology and artificial intelligence and robotics, and we need people who can create and build and maintain those systems. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than it was back in his day, although we still need kind of that traditional manufacturing line worker as well, and welders and machinists and folks like that. A lot of opportunities, and in fact, there's 350,000 jobs today in manufacturing that are open because we don't have folks with the right skills to match into those positions.
Hey, Jay Timmons, talk to us about wages. Talk to us about wage rate wage growth in the manufacturing sector? Because it's been, as you know, because of all the, what I call the slave trade network and the open borders, cheap labor people that are driving down wages, Trump trying to renegotiate NAFTA, restrict the amount of cheap labor that comes into the United States. How is that affecting wages for these manufacturing jobs now and then moving ahead?
You know, it is absolutely amazing to see a young person go into manufacturing and see their eyes light up when they see their paychecks, because manufacturing actually has about a 26% higher entry-level pay. It's about $80,000 on average for a manufacturing position than jobs in any other sector of the economy. And you know the best part about a manufacturing job, John, and this is a little-known secret. Many jobs, there are so many jobs that are available to folks who have high school degrees that don't have to go on and get that 4-year degree and the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt that they're going to be saddled with for years, if not decades. You start out a job in manufacturing and you can be debt free. Your job might require a couple of years of study at a community college. Some jobs, of course, do require an advanced degree or a 4-year degree, but so many jobs in manufacturing are available without that additional financial commitment and hit.
So, what is your prediction here, Jay Timmons, going forward? Do you see a real revitalization of the manufacturing sector in the United States? How long do you think that'll be? And then tie that into how Trump's tax plan might be an enhancement for additional manufacturing growth in the United States.
Yeah, I am so optimistic about where manufacturing is headed right now in this country, because as you've intimated, we have a huge champion in the White House. Donald Trump is he has really made it his mission to revitalize manufacturing in this country and expand its footprint in the United States. That's good news, because manufacturing is the lifeblood of any successful economy. That's why we're going to celebrate today at Optical Cable. That's why I get to celebrate at Optical Cable with White House Counselor Kellyanne Conway, and also your friend, former Governor George Allen, will be there as well, moderating a panel. And we're going to get to see what modern manufacturing is like in Virginia, and we're going to be able to talk about what the opportunities are in the future. One of those topics is going to be tax reform and what we have as an opportunity to achieve with comprehensive tax reform getting through the Congress. What it really means, and we were so proud when the President rolled out his initial plan for a 15% corporate rate and a very similar competitive rate for family-owned or pass-through entities. That was good news, and the negotiators have landed on a little bit higher rate. We're hopeful that'll come down a bit. But what we saw, John, in a survey that we did with our manufacturing members, 14,000 manufacturers, large and small, all across the country, is that if we can get the cost of doing business down in the United States with comprehensive tax reform, the money that is saved on that tax reform, 2/3 of manufacturers say that they will invest in new plants and equipment, and 2/3 say that they will hire new workers. And a great majority of them say that they will increase the base rate of pay and benefits for manufacturers who are already on the job. So the President gets it, and the folks in the administration get the fact that if we can reduce the burden of taxation as well as the regulatory burden on manufacturers, we're going to make them far more competitive in this country. There'll be no incentive to, or almost a mandate by your own government, right, to incorporate outside of the United States. Companies are going to want to be here, whether they're homegrown or they're foreign investments that come into this country. They're going to want to be here to manufacture in the United States, because if we get this done, it will be the best place in the world to do business.
All right. Jay Timmons, President, CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers. Big day today. He'll be in Roanoke, Virginia, Southwest Virginia, this afternoon, this morning, with Kellyanne Conway, and then heading up to the White House and
And we'll be bringing a group of manufacturing workers from across the country to meet with the president while he signs that Manufacturing Day proclamation, which will be that'll be a fantastic moment for manufacturers and the National Association of Manufacturers. And folks, by the way, can get more information on Manufacturing Day at our website, mfgday.com. And we hope to see a lot of folks in our facilities all across the country, just like several cabinet secretaries will be, and Kellyanne Conway, and about 600,000 students and teachers.
Hey, Jay, this is Andrew Vehorn with the Electric Co-ops. Just an observation. I think it's important for our listeners to make the connection. We're not just talking about large corporations or huge facilities like what BMW has in South Carolina, and we're talking a lot about mom-and-pop operations. I know we were out in Southwest Virginia in the coal fields 5 years ago with Ben Markey when he headed up Americans for Prosperity, and we went to this facility in Buchanan County, West River Conveyors, and they manufacture conveyor belts and facilities for coal mines all over the world. And this is a small family-run operation that has 100 employees that, you see those types of things that pop up that support other local sectors like energy, and it can really become an anchor and revitalize local economies that have been otherwise decimated.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, from our 14,000 members, 90% of them are small and medium-sized businesses. And tax reform for those companies has such an enormous impact. I mean, you think about that manufacturer in Buchanan County, and you think about what they can do if they're able to keep more of the money that they're earning. I mean, right now, a small enterprise that is a pass-through entity could be paying 44% effective tax rate. That's just to the federal government. That's before you take into account state and local taxes and other fees, and you just think about what that means to a company when you can actually get them to save on those tax dollars. 44% versus a proposed 25%. That is an enormous savings, an enormous amount of money that small business owners can reinvest into their company. Upgrade the equipment, but most importantly, hire more people. Because I can guarantee you the people of Buchanan County they desperately want to see manufacturing grow and thrive and their economy grow and thrive in their county and in Southwest Virginia as well.
Hey, Jay, Chris Saxman here. Can't emphasize what you're hey, good to talk to you, to emphasize enough what you're working with. At our company, we had a bottled water company, which literally grew up as a mom and pop shop with mom on the phone and pop on the bottling line, and I'm on the forklift. And 20 or so years later, we've got a robot doing a lot of our work and conveyors and advanced
well, I can tell you, Chris, because I know you, I am I feel much safer having the robot do the work than you driving around on a forklift.
I thought that film footage had been scrubbed, but but what to the workforce issue? When you pull back and you say the robot doesn't call in sick and his wife is a gem, she doesn't put any pressure on him either. But what happened was we didn't lose jobs so much as we brought in jobs that paid so much more to maintain those robots and the technology around them. So we went from paying a guy $13, $14 on the line to a guy making a really substantial salary taking care of the robotics and all the engineering around us. So we have to get that workforce component in our higher education, our community colleges, support even the small companies that you don't think of being manufacturing end up becoming manufacturing.
Yeah, you better believe it.
And observation.
Look, there's a couple of issues here that you just outlined. I mean, the potential for the future is great. And John asked me if I was optimistic earlier. One of the reasons I'm extraordinarily optimistic is because of all these new technologies, because of the robotics, because of artificial intelligence. But to your point, that these are different jobs. They're higher paying jobs. They have a different skill set. It's why we have 350,000 open jobs in manufacturing today, and why that our Manufacturing Institute here at the NAM predicts that by the year 2025, we're going to have 2 million jobs open in manufacturing if we don't fix this issue of the skills gap. Now, you're exactly right. We've got to have technical training. We used to call it vocational education when I was a kid, and somehow that went away, unfortunately. But a lot of schools across the country are starting to recognize that they need to bring that back, and they're entering into partnerships with local businesses and manufacturers to do exactly that. But there's somebody else that really has a big responsibility here, and it's not government, and it's not education, it's the businesses themselves. And I'll tell you that what I hear from manufacturers all across this country is that they are taking it upon themselves to reinvest in training and especially retraining of workers whose skills don't meet the needs of the 21st century. We just can't leave a whole group of people behind and say, well, thanks for your service, but you can't do the job anymore. We have an obligation to keep the best and the brightest and the hardest working and the people that have been loyal to manufacturers for their entire career. We have an obligation to bring them along and make sure that they have the skills for the future to be able to do the work of the future.
We're out of time. I want to thank the president and CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers, Jay Timmons, for being with us. Jay
well, John, thanks, and thanks for your questions, Andrew, and Chris as well. It's good to talk to you all.
All right. Jay Timmons live today in Roanoke, Virginia with Kellyanne Conway, then going to the White House, trying to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. Thanks for being with us, Jay.